You know, integrity matters to God. There are tons of scriptures in the Old Testament about people being careful to weigh things properly, to give people what they paid for, to not be dishonorable and lack integrity with how they sold goods. And then the same includes people's lives, how we live our lives before God and before man. And today in Judges chapter 9, we're going to talk about what happens when someone tries to get ungodly gain or dubious gains through a lack of integrity, and it's Abimelech, and who was raising himself up to be the king over a very difficult time in Israel when there were very many bad people rising up, and he's one of them. So, good morning. Welcome to 747. I'm Pastor Rini, Senior Pastor of Valley Christian Center in Fresno, California. Welcome to our morning inspiration. And again, make sure you keep subscribing, hit the like button, and send this to your friends as we go through the Bible in a year. And if you want to go through the Bible in a year, go to our website at V as in victory, vccfresno.org. Download the Bible app, hit the 1-year plan, and you can join in with us as we go through the Bible in a year. So, Judges chapter 9. Let me begin. Now, Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem to his mother's relatives and said to them and to the whole clan of the mother's family, "Say in the ears of all the leaders of Shechem, which is better for you, that all 70 of the sons of Jerubbaal rule over you, or that one rule over you? Remember that I am also your bone and your flesh." So his mother went, talked to everybody, and they said, no problem, you go for it. And so basically it says in verse 4, they gave him 70 pieces of silver out of the house of Baal Berith, with which Abimelech hired worthless and reckless fellows, and they fired him, and they killed all the sons, except for the youngest brother, Jotham, who hid himself and was not killed. And so he made himself king, Abimelech, by killing all of the other brothers except for Jotham, who got away. Now Jotham went, it says in verse 7, that he went to Mount Gerizim and cried aloud, and he basically spoke a curse over Abimelech and over the city of Shechem. And he gives this whole analogy of trees and shrubs and how basically you can't destroy one thing to bring another one to make another one fruitful. And it's just he's basically disguising his what he's saying by revealing that in God's order of things, you don't destroy something beautiful to try to create something else beautiful. It's not how God's order works. And so he says in verse 16, now therefore, and he's talking to the people of Shechem, if you acted in good faith and integrity when you made Abimelech king, and if you have dealt well with Jerubbaal, why can't I get those names right? I think anytime after 9, I struggle with that. Anyway, and his house, and have done to him his deeds as his deeds deserved. For my father fought for you and risked his life and delivered you from the hand of Midian. And you have risen up against my father's house this day and have killed his sons, 70 men on one stone, and have made Abimelech the son of a female servant king of the leaders of Shechem, because he is your relative. So he's saying, if you acted in good faith and integrity, and he's showing them at the same time they did not act in good faith and integrity. But then he speaks this curse over them. He says, if you did act in integrity, rejoice in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice in you. But, verse 20, if not, let fire come out from Abimelech and devour the leaders of Shechem and Beth Milo, and let fire come out from the leaders of Shechem and from Beth Milo, and devour Abimelech. And Jotham ran away and fled and went to Beer and lived there because of Abimelech, his brother. All right, so Abimelech is king by killing off his brothers. The people of Shechem conspired with him to do this evil deed, did not seek God at all. They all used a lack of good faith, a lack of integrity, And now, instantly, problems began to happen. It says Abimelech ruled for 3 years, verse 23, and God sent an evil spirit between Abimelech and the leaders of Shechem. So when you come into a situation by evil intent, by falsehoods and lack of integrity, you open the door for great evil to come into the relationships. So he opened the door for the leaders to hate him because of the dubious way in which he gained power. And God does not stand by to do that. So first off, a guy named Gaal, the son of Ebed, is basically hired by the people of Shechem to take out Abimelech, because now they hate Abimelech. And Abimelech takes out Gaal, and he loses. And so Abimelech takes on another ruler. So Abimelech goes in verse 34. Abimelech and all the men who were with him rose up by night and set an ambush against Shechem in 4 companies. And Gaal the son of Ebed went out and stood at the entrance of the gate in the city, and Abimelech and the people who were with him rose for the ambush. And Zebulun, the leader of the city, said, hey, basically, long story short, go out and take on Abimelech, and Gaal loses. So Abimelech does win that battle, but he loses the hearts of the people of Shechem. They are now against him. So Abimelech's the king of a kingdom that has rejected him. And the reason they rejected him is because of the dubious, non-integrous way that he became a king by murdering his brothers. So he wins that battle, but it says in verse 46, when all the leaders of the tower of Shechem heard of it, they entered the stronghold of the house of El-Berith. So now, he's won one battle, he's coming after the people of Shechem, right? And he's going to come and try to burn down their tower like he did in the previous city, where he took his sword and cut a bunch of bundle of wood and placed it at the foot of the previous tower, the previous town, and his men did the same, and the fire burned down basically the stronghold, and he got to the people. He decided that he was going to do the same thing again. But what happens is he does it with Shechem, and 1,000 men and women die. So he pulls this thing off, and then it says in verse 30, then Abimelech went to Tabez and encamped against Tabez and captured it. So he's going to again use the same strategy to burn down and capture the city. And he went with the same strategy to the strong tower, and he got close to the tower to burn it with fire. So think of Abimelech holding a bundle of wood, bringing it to the stronghold, to the wooden door of the stronghold, to try to burn the tower down and kill the people. But this is what happens. It says, and Abimelech came to the tower and fought against it and drew near the door of the tower to burn it with fire. And a certain woman threw an upper millstone. A millstone is a big, giant, round stone wheel that's used to grind wheat. Very heavy. And so they had a millstone in there which they ground their wheat with, or their barley. And so it says a woman threw the upper millstone on Abimelech's head and crushed his skull. Then he called quickly to the young man, his armor bearer, and said to him, draw your sword and kill me, lest they say of me, a woman killed me. The greatest dishonor for a man in battle was to be killed by a woman in battle. And so he didn't want it to be known he was killed by a woman, so he told his armor bearer to be the one who drew his last breath, who killed him. Although Scripture has recorded that he was killed by a woman, because it says right here in the story. And the young man thrust him through, and he died. Now listen to how this story ends. It's very important. It says, and when the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, everyone departed to his home. Thus God returned the evil of Abimelech, which he committed against his father, in killing his 70 brothers. And God also made all the evil of the men of Shechem return on their heads, and upon them came the curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal. So what's the moral of this story? The moral of this story is dubious gains end with bad endings. Or another way to say it is integrity matters to God. When someone uses murder and violence and hatred to gain something, any kind of evil gain that is not honorable before the Lord is usually met with some kind of resistance. First of all, it opens the door for Satan to come in and to cause a diversion and cause division. And then it removes the blessings of God, the covering of God over us, because we're doing evil. He removes his covering, and suddenly evil can befall those who lack integrity. And Abimelech lost it all. The people of Shechem who were conspired with him, they lost it. And of course, the curse of Jotham remained upon the people, the remaining people, because they dishonored God by allowing someone without integrity to reign for 3 years as a king of Israel. God appreciates people who appreciate integrity. Integrity is doing what is right and good and honorable. And when we see those who do evil and they gain great wealth or gain great power or gain great respect, it's not forever. God will come in and he will rectify that situation. He will take what is theirs and give it to those that are righteous. He said so in Scripture. So don't despair when you see others who do evil rise up in power and authority. There will be a reckoning for that. And God will restore what was lost and taken from the righteous. He will bring it back to the righteous. That's the moral for today's story. Well, God bless you. I love you all. Have an incredible day. By the way, if you're down at Valley Christian Center, we have our food distribution today, our neighborhood market. If you're available around 9 o'clock, come help us. And I love you all and have an incredible day. Bye-bye.